Today on the show, strategy plus action equals taking risks to grow your business. Great coaches and consultants like you have the ability to change people's lives and transform entire organizations. And your impact can often go far beyond the clients you work with. One of the reasons I love working with coaches and consultants is because of that ripple effect. This show is here to highlight your expertise and empower you with resources and new ideas to grow your business. Welcome to Strategy in Action. Joe Blackburn is on the show today, and we have just an incredible conversation around this idea of risk. I mean, Joe took a really big risk by pretty much anyone's standard, certainly the people in his life at the time, to really shift out of his role that he'd been in for 20 years, the industry's been in for 20 years, and by all measure, a great deal of success, and really going all in to help others in their life, in taking their next level of risk and just growth and expand in business. And what he's doing in his mastermind right now, and he's done in one-on-one coaching for folks, is just incredible. The results he's gotten for folks, and being that, certainly that sounding board a little bit, and that outside perspective, but the tough love version of it as well too, of not letting somebody sit back in mediocrity or miss that opportunity. And now with the mastermind that he's developed, he's got a whole group of these folks. So certainly with his leadership in there, guiding it and bringing that tough love and that experience of 20 years in the industry that he comes from, and also combining that with all these folks from different industries, successful in their own right in different ways. And one of the biggest ways Joe helps folks in his mastermind is, expanding their scope. I mean, that is the most powerful thing when you can take somebody who is, they've got their industry and they're by any means, like, they are successful. They're doing things in their business. They're growing. It's great. And they know that there's something more that they can be doing and probably should be doing. Being able to open up not only what's possible, but now make those introductions and give you those insights of how to get that done. It's beyond powerful. So I'm excited to bring this interview to you. Let's jump in. Joe Blackburn, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jason, thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. I'm so excited that Casey from Brand Builders introduced us and made this connection happen. We had an awesome conversation last week, and I just knew I had to get you on the show. I mean, there's such a story there, and the way you're helping people is fantastic. And I want to dig into a lot of that. And for the folks kind of coming into this, I think you're the perfect person to have this conversation around risk, taking risk to get to that next level, whatever that is for you. Logically, I think we all know there's a certain amount of risk if we want to do something new and all of that. But oh my goodness, taking that action sometimes without a plan and, mitigating the risk, and we all have our own thresholds and all that good stuff. And I'm just excited to learn more about how you help people through that process. But give us some geography a little bit of your background and what's got you here and how you're helping folks. And I think your story is like the quintessential risk story, right?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for having me, and Casey owes both of us. So let's just get that on public record. No, he's great, and I'm grateful for his friendship and his coaching and everything. But the one thing when you talk about risk, you have to think about what it really is. And I've always gone by, something I heard a long time ago from the great Jim Rohn is like, it's all risk. So you might as well do what you really want to do. And to give you my geography or my background, I was a corporate executive for a financial services company. I spent 20 years growing up. Basically, the first job I ever had was in that world. And I left it 3 years ago. I was a director or field executive. I had, kind of what a lot of people aspire to in that realm is their dream job of, I've got 200 people across a geography and I'm responsible for everything and we're growing the business and it seems like it's, where you want to go if you're no longer going to be an agent or a financial advisor, but you lead them. And it seemed good and it was, and there were some things that happened along the way. There's when you get into that part of it, there's the bureaucracy, the politics, and of course your family. So I was pretty spread out. I had 9 offices in 2 states. And I loved my team and the people. However, I really didn't enjoy the red tape and kind of that aspect of it. And unfortunately, when I was going through that, my wife was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I've got 5 little kids. So I had to start really taking stock of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And I really started thinking about kind of pursuing my own dreams and not running someone else's play, so to speak. And, after you're on, 5 calls a day about arbitration or risk or legal or HR, that's not exactly how you want to spend your time. So I really just started to explore, what I wanted to do. And I made a decision and I made it pretty quick. And I walked away from benefits and deferred stock and salary and bonus and all those things that you would consider safe. And I took a big leap and I started a company and I started doing coaching and training. And it was one of those things where I kind of followed my passion, doing the things I wanted to do versus doing what I felt I had to. And I realized that, when I did that, like there's a lot of people out there just kind of doing the norm, doing what they think they should do versus what they could do or what they really have always wanted to do. And I did it. And now I'm trying to help as many people as I can see something bigger than what they see now and go out and do that.
Yeah, that's powerful. And that's what's, man, it's exciting to have you on to talk about this topic because it's not like you did this yesterday and you're like, we'll see how it goes. I'm trying to help some folks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although there was probably, 3 years ago, there was some aspect of that a little bit.
Yeah.
But you've also helped people through that process as well. And I'm sure we'll get into some of those examples. But man, the thing that comes up too is it's not just a risk financially, and you have this family to support, like a lot of us do. But I think for a lot of folks, like the health scare, having that happen with your wife, you've got 5 kids, like that seems like the last thing you would do, even though I think for you, like you felt it, you felt your soul, like I've got to be there with them, and I'm not.
Yeah.
But financially, as that father and as that husband, if like I've got to, still support them. What was it about the direction and the choice you're going to make? What was in there besides like, I think that's going to work? Like what was that direction that was like, this is it. I have to make this move.
Well, my biggest thing is faith. So I felt a pull there. You see that lion behind me, and I read some book. It was called Chase the Lion. And it really talked about, a lot of people don't do what I did because of fear, because they don't believe in it and they don't feel like there's a higher calling or something that's going to get them where they want to go. And I almost felt like, and I could show you the book if you wanted me to, but I almost felt like when I started to think that way, that lion was watching me. And it would have been a disservice for me to myself and my family to keep doing what I didn't really believe I should have been doing. So it made it easier then to make that leap of faith. I mean, I never felt like, well, if I go do this, it's going to blow up and I'm going back to corporate America. That really never really crossed my mind. Now, I will tell you, it hasn't been like easy. I mean, it's, we had this thing called a pandemic and all these other aspects, but I never had that feeling of helplessness or this isn't going to work out. I just felt like it was. And I think that goes back to the faith that I had, just in what was happening. I could feel that. And then I, of course, felt the pressure of like, you better do what's right and what you think is right versus what others, especially my peers and my family. And, they were like, what? You're doing what now? especially with what was going on with my wife. So I didn't feel that way. So that was the thing that like pulled me the most to do it, to take the leap,
Oh yeah,
so to speak.
and in that process too, what's, for lack of a better word, what's great, that pressure that you have then too is, you're not the kind of person like dabbling in this, and just like, maybe I'll work on my business today. Like,
No, you have bills to pay. Yeah.
yeah, there's a bigger thing. So now specifically, why coaching? Why this consulting path? What was that connection for you? Did you see an example of that? You gone through that coaching and like this, why that path?
Well, I always enjoyed that aspect of it. And my dad was a basketball coach. Now, he didn't stay a basketball coach, but I was raised by a coach. It's always been a part of my life. I was coached. I had a great mentor where I came from, a good friend of mine now. And I enjoyed that. There comes a point where I think you either want to keep doing what you're doing at a success level and you're fulfilled there, or you start to get more fulfillment by seeing others do that. And that really started happening for me where I was. And I wanted to be able to focus my time there. And quite frankly, in the role I was in, you couldn't spend all your time with the people that were growing or wanted to even grow. You're in a big organization. You have to go to the lowest common denominator and put those fires out and so forth. But I really enjoyed that development and seeing people win and winning with them. And I liked that. I liked that feeling. I knew that's where my passion was. So I really started out just coaching one-on-one too. Like I went back to my network of 20 years of networking and building relationships and started to get clients. And I liked that. And now what I found was, I had a capacity like most of us that run a business where one-on-one is still a part of it, but I had to find a way to scale and to really grow a business. And I've got huge aspirations for where we're going there. But the coaching aspect is you get the juice of it, so to speak, when someone else wins. And as a byproduct, you win too. But I really like that. I enjoy it. We were talking a little bit before we got started about, if this is work, then I'm pretty lucky because it doesn't feel like work. It's just having a meaningful conversation with someone, seeing something they may not see in themselves, holding them accountable and letting them accomplish things they didn't really ever think were possible. And that has been the thing that is, through the ups and downs of starting your own business from nothing and building it on your phone.
Okay.
That's what carried me through. And it's been probably the greatest decision I've made other than, when I said I do to my wife, to date. Maybe the kids, I don't know. We'll throw them in there, but
That's awesome. But so there are those inklings, like you were doing that essentially within the organization where you could, how you could. And so there's a skill and then yeah, that calling when you know it. I mean, when you describe it and it gives you chills, right? Like you're just like, yeah. That's it. And that's just kind of the beautiful thing. I love the fact that, that's not the thing for everybody. What I do isn't the thing for everybody. And I almost have to remind myself, right, when it does feel exactly like what you're talking about, of just like, yeah, this is fun. Like it's okay that it's fun because it's not for everybody. And it really is making that difference. And when you can, just like what you're talking about, when you can see that in a moment, and of course over time as you work with somebody, but in a moment when somebody gets it or they have that break, that insight,
yeah.
That's everything, right? Like that's oxygen.
Yeah. It's been unique. Two things about it. You said it, the fun word. Like for me, I kind of made a decision, like if it's not fun, I'm not doing it. Like I think that's the thing that liberates you, is when you make the realization that I don't have to do this to provide for my family. This is not my only option. So then it's like, well, now there's unlimited options, and that is fun. And you don't have to, I'm not saying every single thing we do throughout the day is pure fun. It's just, if it's not going to be fun, why bother? I'm building out, my mastermind, and one of the most important things is we're all having fun doing it. Like the people that are in it, they love it. They like doing it, and we banter and grow, and like that's become, that actually has become more fun than the one-on-one wins, where that's fun, you celebrate, you move on, but now you're building something that's almost alive, and people are feeding that with their wins and their dreams and everything. I love that. And
Oh yeah, because that's exponential then too. It's
yeah,
like each other's wins, and they learn from each other while they're learning and going through this with you. And yeah,
so that's been really good. I think at the end of the day too, it was like I was spending 95% of my time on things I didn't want to do, and maybe 5% on what I did. And now I just kind of flip that. Like I spend 95% of the time on what I want to do, and 5% I do. But I've got a great COO. Her name's Lauren. I think you've interacted with her. She's a superstar. We're adding to the team. Everything's growing. Everything's getting bigger. And I'm out looking for people to help me grow the business. And they want to have fun too. So it's just been really cool.
I love that. And I want to dig in on some specifics here around helping people through risk, but let's expand that a little bit and give people an understanding of that mastermind that you talked about, right? The arena that you're kind of putting people in, and who's going in there right now, and all of that.
I think what I found, and I kind of had to work this through in the last 3 years I've been doing the one-on-one coaching, is a lot of clients that I would work with, they were really successful. I mean, if you just gave their profile and put it up by any means, income and net worth and family and aspirations within their own company or within their own niche, they had a lot of success. I mean, a lot of my clients are the top people in their given field or company. But what I started to see was, given their age and their demographic and what they talked about and what they aspired to do, they weren't really doing the big things. And it wasn't because they were super scared of them or they didn't really want them. It's just that they didn't quite know how to utilize leverage or to recruit talent or to delegate or to do the things that takes them from being kind of the one superstar to expanding that. But it also wasn't something that was really in their stratosphere. They may come to me and say they want to increase their revenue. And then I'm talking to them about, okay, well, why don't you take that million and make it 10 million? And how do you actually do that? I mean, I had the benefit of running a pretty big organization, so I understand how to scale in space, especially we went from one side of a state to the side of another that took 7 hours. So it's like I called it winning in space. And I think people think they're relegated to kind of their little piece of the world. So I've had a lot of luck, and they've had success in finding people that have that aspiration. It's just, how do I do it? How do I actually take my excess capital when I have it and allocate it so that it's not super complicated, time consuming, it's not leveraged, and just kind of what I call hygiene of investing. I'm putting it in my 401k, doing that type of thing. How do I actually grow a business and grow wealth, meanwhile not losing my family? That's what started to become the conversations. It's what the masterminds build around, is how do we take all those things and weave them together so that I can hit my dreams? And also, we touched a little bit on it before we had the cameras rolling. I think people are underestimating what it's going to take to maintain your lifestyle. And I have the benefit of coming out of financial services, so I know that pretty well. But what it's really going to take. I mean, we live pretty well in America. I don't know. You don't always hear that, but we do. And fortunately, we're going to live a long time, and it takes a lot to do that. And the people that I work with, they like to, travel and do fun things with their kids and their wife or their husband. And, that's something that the conversation started being about. How do I get bigger? It was almost like a not a scarcity mindset, but a smallness mindset. Like it's okay to just do this. And then what I generally see in people, whether it was developing leaders where I came from or now with my clients, is there's so much more that you're not looking at. Let's figure that out. And now we've brought it together where we're collaborating, sharing ideas, and it's people from different industries. So you're not getting that super groupthink bias that, we're all doing the same thing. It's the same, play. We're going to run it the same. You're getting different perspectives and diversity of thought is something that I think they found incredibly valuable.
Oh, that's huge. Yeah, I love that. And that's the thing, no matter what level you're at, there is that aspect of risk. If you're really going to do something, you're really going to make a change. But then that other piece does come in, right? It does come in like, okay, great, I'm all in. How the heck do I possibly do that?
Sounds great.
Yeah. It's like, tell me how. And that's what it sounds like you're really facilitating here too, is because this, I mean, it's like a great microcosm of exactly what coaching is, right? Like it's a perfect example of that, of holding that mirror up, of just showing people what's possible. And that's everything, because almost every one of us has some version of that like, here's where we're looking, right?
Yeah.
And we have no idea all the way around, like, here's all these other things. And to have that insight from somebody else of just what's possible. And then that next level though too is that it's not just like some idea that I wasn't aware of yesterday, but, oh, I can do that. It's step 1, 2, 3. Like we talked about before, it doesn't mean it's easy, but it's very doable. It's
Sure.
steps at that point. Because I think a lot of these things for us too, we hear about investing in, real estate. We hear about this and that, and whatever that might be that's outside of our wheelhouse, just like, oh yeah, that's possible. That's over there, right? That's for folks doing that, and they've always been doing it. And I don't know how I would get into that. And that's why I just love that, where you sit, right, in this perspective of what's possible. I love that so much because of your 20 years of all of these different worlds coming together and putting those pieces together. And now you're doing that for folks. What is that like? I guess, what's that first step for folks to kind of let that in, that this is possible? If maybe they're coming to you for, yeah, I need to grow my revenue by 5%, like somebody said I should talk to you, and you're like, well, you could do that, but what's that first step of kind of getting that out of them and showing them that this is possible?
Yeah. Well, you can use this train of thought or questioning with a lot of people, but if you really want to find that out with someone, the first thing you have to do is take all the systems and aesthetics and science and all that, and it's important. It is. But you got to set that to the side for a minute. If I was going to do that with anyone, what I got to know, like, and I have to know this, especially if I'm going to work with you, is like, with all that aside, when you think about, your heart's biggest aspiration, or what it is you want with wealth or your business or your family, when you put all that together, what is the most important thing to you? Because some people describe it as, well, they don't want to work, or they want $100 million net worth, or that they want their business to run itself. There's all these, you hear all these different answers, but if I go down a path and I'm not on the one that you want to be on, it's really hard for me to make progress. So I have to know, like, take a minute and think about, what is it? What's the most important thing to you? And I love it when someone can give me that answer. I also love it when they can't, because part of this is getting crystal clear on what it is you want. I mean, What is it that you really want? Yeah, I'd like to not work and have everything I've ever wanted paid for. Well, that's not really how this works. So I try to get people to open up and talk about what that really is, because the reality is, you're not going to pull the plug and like stop working and stare at a wall. I mean, you might do that for a week, but it's like what that does, Jason, is it helps them to start to think bigger. Like, what is it I really want? And I generally start all my, like, if I offer a free call or consultation like everyone else. Hey, if you want to talk to me, that's where we start. Then we can start dialing into your gaps. Well, where are you at? Where do you want to be? What's the gap? And I can determine if that's something that I can help with, or sometimes I say, hey, you need to go talk to this person. I just did that last week with a referral from Casey. He just needed something totally different I don't do, and sent him on his way, and we're good friends, still text and everything. But that's one of those things where you got to get someone to, that's how you open the door. And then there are, I have it 70 sessions on how to double a business with workbooks, but I've started to find people want to network, not homework. So I start to really walk them through some mental frameworks and some strategies around different aspects and how they feed into one another. So to answer your question, how do I do that? Well, the first thing is whatever your family situation is, it's really hard to max your business and start multiplying wealth if that's a train wreck. Like if that's unpleasant, you're miserable, whatever it is. Like I'm not a psychologist. I'm not. I have 5 kids. You want to come spend 24 hours here? You're going to question my parenting and my sanity. But it is really about, like, for all of us that are doing this and that I let in and agree to do it, family comes first. So what are you doing around your family? Are you leading by example? Like have some goals for them, for you, that and rewards and all those different things. Let's get that solid. Like that's really, the first step. And, in today's age, families are, you can describe them. There's mixed families, there's divorce, there's marriage. But it's like, get that unit solid. That's the first thing. And then it's how do you actually make money? I have found, and I'm guilty of this as well, like a lot of people spend a lot of time within their business that is not how they actually generate revenue. So before you can start maxing out your business, delegating, working with your team, all those things, you've got to get your revenue right. Like, and I teach a way to really focus on pillars of your business and how to do that. But it's more framework based than it is, here's a step-by-step workbook and fill this out. And I've kind of gotten out of that. Not that there's anything wrong with it. Some people like to go back and do it. We make it available. If you enjoy that, do it. But then it's start putting the pieces together, get your revenue right, then work on how you delegate, because people don't delegate generally because they think that they can do it faster or better and that they're going to lose something if they do it. And you got to break through that. That's more mental than it is science. It's just letting go and giving direction and accountability. Then who are you developing on the team? Then we start getting into, all right, how do I grow asymmetrically? Meaning, instead of me bringing on one client, how do I go out and buy my competitor? Or how do I strategically partner with someone that we share with? I think in the online world that we're in now, it's called affiliate, or that type of mentality is how can we help each other help the client, or recruit a superstar, or find, the talented person you need. And then you can start talking about wealth. And there's a million ways to grow your wealth. There literally are. I like to keep them simple. It's got to be something that and that you're interested in, whether it's, expanding your business and making it more valuable if you're going to sell it, or if you want to get into, the markets. Are you concentrating in one area? How do you utilize the publicly traded markets? You should probably talk to an advisor. And I've got a bunch of those in my mastermind, so they're there. But, then the real estate side, I'm not like, hey, let's go flip or wedge, or I don't know all the terms today. I'm sure they all work, but in my mind, it's like, if I've got to run this business and be focused there, I want something where at least, I'm getting the cash flow I need to make all the payments and make a profit. And you generally got to have either a company or that guy that helps you in the real estate game. Like I've seen very few solo real estate people also run a big business. So there's levels to that. And then if you want to start buying businesses, you got to have an archetype that's similar, or you got to go in with investors. But I don't want to go too deep into that. It's just what you have to make decisions on there is, what type of leverage do you want? Do you want leverage of time? Do you want leverage of money? Do you want, leverage of talent within your own business? Those are almost like a sequence of what leverage am I willing to take on, or what do I want to get rid of, and then go from there. But that's in the mastermind. I know you didn't ask this, but a lot of the conversations are, hey, I'm looking at this, and then we kind of dissect it. Like, did you think of this? Is this an opportunity? Is this, are you going to take on another job? Because that's not a good idea. Like, most of us don't need another job. So.
Oh yeah. And again, just like you talked about,
but yeah.
No, it's great, because just like you talked about, like, it's not just this group of folks, it's all these different perspectives, because they're from all different, industries and all of that, getting eyeballs on that, which is huge. I love this idea of the framework that you provide, because you're exactly right. Like sometimes we need, maybe there's 6 of the 32 steps. Like I want to go deep and have a workbook around and stuff like that, but I'm never going to do that unless I understand and believe in the framework and why I'm doing all of this. So it's such a great way to structure things and talk about it, you know. And I love this too, because it seems like it's also just deciding and timing for a lot of this as well. You know, family first, you're building this, your kids are, maybe they're teenagers, and you know, I want to really, let's just get my business solid, and you know, for the next 10, 15 years, then kids are out, I have more time,
Right.
I'm not going to go stare at a wall like you talked about. I want to, that's when I want to start going, right? Like I want to have this investment, this investment. So I want to build that equity in my business, have the cash flow to go and do these things. This one's going to take more time because I'm not super familiar, but I'm going to have the time then. Yeah, putting all these little pieces together and having that person to help through, having that group of people to help through all of that, it's powerful.
Yeah. And the cool thing is it's unbiased. I mean, you know, no one
Yeah.
has any, they don't get any extra points or money if they weigh in. I mean, it's whatever you put in, you get out exponentially. So that's what I like about it. I mean, I was in the advice business for 20 years around financial services, and we were compensated accordingly and should be. And, you know, but there's a lot of people that are like, well, you have a motive. Well, in this, the motive is you better win and get ROI or we're closing down. I mean, everybody's got to win. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing else other than I want you to win and get results and, you know, have a blast doing it.
So does when people are going through this so far that you've, you know, encountered of these last few years, whether one-on-one in the beginning or the mastermind now, are there times where you kind of have to help push them off the ledge a little bit?
Yes. I get paid for telling the unvarnished truth when it doesn't feel great. I mean, and quite frankly, if in my line of work, if you're not doing that, that's unethical. So I'd say one of my superpowers is that, like, I'm pretty straightforward. And if I see something, you know, it's kind of like this. If you and I went to lunch and you had a speck of mustard in your beard, because you have a robust, nice beard, and I didn't say anything to you and just let you go about to your next meeting, does that make me a good friend, partner, associate? No. And that's a small thing. Like, that's like somebody's just going to laugh about that and someone else is going to tell you. But if I don't tell you about that, what do you think when I see something big and don't say anything? So like am adamant about, you know, it's hard truth, ridiculous grace, but that's what I'm quite frankly paid for. And in our mastermind, there's, you know, there's some rules. There is a rule. You can't be a dick. That's actually written in my, like, you can be a funny one, but you can't be a dick to be a dick. But that's one of those things where, like, if you're in the consulting, coaching world, you should be delivering that. And there are times when I, you know, whether it was where I came from, where I had to have hard conversations, and there's times when I have to have them now. I literally just had one with a client. I'm like, you're not doing the work. This is a waste of your money and my time. So they have a week. And this is one of my very last one-on-ones. I only have a small handful. And, you know, that's the ethics of it. So, and I think that level of accountability is why people do this in the first place, because they get to where they're going faster and they see things, are told things that other people see that they don't. So there's your benefits of doing it. And I have a great way of delivering hard messages. I'm hilarious, number one, but you know, I'm not afraid to say what's on my mind in a help. Like, I want it to help you, not hurt you. It's not against you. It's for you. That I mean, that's kind of like your family, your business, your partners, your mastermind. Like, I think what I see people, and I'll get on the soapbox here for a minute. I think people are selfish in the regard that they don't address things because it's actually hurts them or makes them feel like they've done something or, hurts their own feelings. And that's selfish because you're not thinking of that person. You're thinking of how it affects you, not them. So I'm very, if you can't tell, you've struck a nerve. That's something
I love it.
If you
I
pull
love
the
it.
mastermind, they would say, yeah, he's going to be direct.
But I love that because it is. I mean, I'll stand up, I'll push you off and stand up on your same soapbox because I think it's weak. Honestly, I think it's weak if you don't have those tough conversations just because it's hard. It's easier to just let it go and you go about your day and you didn't have to be the one to deliver the news and all of that. Man, I prefer, like, let's rip off the Band-Aid. Let's have that hard conversation. And my friends, my people close to me, I've got the good fortune to know a lot of folks, and they're amazing and talented, and they share stuff with me. Here's this book I wrote. Here's this I made. And, I am more than happy, and they all know, like, here's what I hated about it. Here's what I loved about it. Here's what, but to go down. But that's the thing is, like, they know 100% that when I say this part was amazing or all of this was fantastic, I loved it, that it's 100% genuine, right? Like, that's the other half of this,
Yeah.
I
always tell them, like, because sometimes timing's an aspect to that, by the way. It may not, you may want to choose your timing. But I would always say, like, wouldn't you rather have that conversation with me than with your new boss that you could lose your, I'm not going to always be here, or your kids, like, hey, dad's not going to always be here. Even if it's a business partner or something, like, when it's going to cost us money, wouldn't you rather have it now? Like, wouldn't you rather hear it from me than when someone doesn't tell you and just exits, or you get exited? So it's better now than then.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that just gets you, that's just preparation. Like, when it counts, your odds are better. That's how I view it.
Yeah, I agree. And to your point too, back from, when they're, oh, I don't know about this. It goes the other way too, of just that missed opportunity, that you're going to look up in 10 years and, oh, wow, I should have invested in that shopping mall down there, or I should have bought my competitor over here because now they're eating my lunch and I had that opportunity and no one encouraged me, or no one gave me that little bit of push. I was about to write the check and no one pushed me a little bit,
It's interesting you said that. I mean, indecision has the most consequences. Usually a decision doesn't have real severe consequences, but indecision has severe consequences. And that's, we in one of our first go-arounds with the mastermind, one of the members had been on the fence coming into it, and I knew it, on a pretty significant investment. And I pushed him in front of everyone the right way and got him. And it was like, okay, I'm going to go do it. Like, they didn't need more information or more data. They needed that's a pretty good idea. And he was like, okay, I'm in. It's like confirmation of that's a good idea. And, other people were weighing in, and that's helpful. I mean, because, then you're not in a vacuum and you're not just hearing it from me. You've got other people with different backgrounds looking at something and saying, all right, yeah, that's good. Do that. So
that's powerful. I love it. So who needs to reach out? Who's out there? What are they experiencing right now that somebody, has heard this? They're going to go, you got to talk to Joe.
Here's who needs to reach out. If you want to take your business from high 6 figures over the 7-figure mark, even up to 8 figures, and that's real, you really want to do that, we should talk. If you want to take your net worth above 10 million to even 100 million, we should talk. If your family's really important to you in that whole mix, and you want to be with a group of other people that put their family and their faith first and are adamant about growing their business and their net worth, you should talk. I just have my sales calls, and I've done sales for 20 years. I don't have 4 closes, and it's like, let's talk. Tell me what's important to you. I'll see if I can help you. If you get the vibe and I get the vibe and we're a fit, I'll tell you how it all works. If not, that's cool too. We've got a free community and all these other things to stay plugged in, and life changes. So you may come back, or you may say, you know what, I didn't like that dude and I'm out. That's pretty much how it works. And I get, I get pretty in depth on that, and it's for all these, if you don't work with us and you're ever wondering like sales, like, you know what you need to figure out in sales? What's the truth? Why is someone really doing or not doing this? Your job is to let them make a good decision, not, meld them into a yes through some sorcery of objection overcoming. Now you should have that skill, but times have changed. It's kind of like it's more the tide than it is the current these days. Like, go with the tide and let people figure out for themselves. That's how I view it.
Oh yeah, be there for that. Just at that point, somebody's gotten to you and you've had that conversation. It's just answering questions at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, is this a fit? Is this going to work? Well, also, we know who it should be. How do they reach out to you?
The best way is to, just jump on my Calendly link. I can put that in the show notes, or you can, Jason, and just jump on there. I'll show up just like this. We'll have a conversation. If it's a fit, awesome. If not, we'll part as friends.
Perfect. Thanks so much for being on, Joe. This is fantastic. Yeah. I love what you've built and what you're doing out there, man. Thanks so much for tuning in and being a part of this show. If you want help creating authority-building video content or even a client-generating show of your own, go to MediaLeadsCo.com and let's connect. I'll talk to you soon on the next Strategy in Action.